Hey, we've talked about Olympus already, right? I've made a couple videos about Olympus, but that was about the camera company.
Olympus is falling. Olympus is falling.
This week's episode, I want to talk about Zuiko lenses. I've got 4 of them. I've got a 28, I've got a 50, I've got an 85, and I've got a 100 millimeter. So, how much longer can we get?
That's what she said.
Well, I've got 4 of their better lenses, so I want to talk about them, give you some photo samples, and maybe turn you on to getting some vintage Zuiko lenses of your own. So stay tuned, and I'll be back in a jiffy.
Here I am, Vietnam. Rain is always coming down.
This is Camera Talk with Dr. Scott. Okay, this week, another family line of lenses we're going to be looking at. I've covered a couple other videos talking about Olympus, the company that has been around forever, at least 100 years anyway, and has since been sold off to another company called Japanese Industrial Partners, who has taken over and promises to keep the line of cameras operating, but who knows? When other new owners come in, they sometimes don't keep their word in that regard. But today I'm not talking about the cameras anyway. I'm talking about lenses, vintage lenses, and I've got 4 of their better ones from the Zuiko family, and I'll introduce them to you one by one, but collectively. I have the 28 millimeter f2, I have the 50 millimeter 1.4, I have the 85 millimeter f2, and I have the 100 millimeter f2.8. So I'm going to be going through each one of these, giving you some samples and a little bit of history behind them. So, just like I said in my other previous videos about Olympus, they've been around since 1919. They started off in the industry producing, microscopes and thermometers, things like that. Seems like a lot of companies started out that way, with Zeiss and Leica and whatnot, also into microscopes. But in 1936, they created their first camera. Then they went on through, throughout the 50s and 60s, getting into more consumer products and pro products. Olympus came out with the pen, PEN, made into later with the OM system. But each one of these lenses was produced for the SLR line that Olympus had created at the time. And of course, because they're vintage lenses, they are not, these are full frame lenses, and as you know, or maybe you don't know, but Olympus is a micro 4/3 sensor size. So these lenses are not obviously designed for micro 4/3, or designed for full frame. So I use them on my Sony, and I have, I've got Sony full frame. I have a Leica M9 full frame, and I have the Canon M50, which is an APS-C sensor size, which is filming this right now. So these lenses obviously have different effects on different cameras, different types of sensors. But anyway, what I'm going to do is go through each one of these.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
This is my 28 f2, and the brand name for Olympus for their lenses was Zuiko, and Zuiko is the Japanese characters used in part of the name of Mizuho Optics, was translated into the light of God. And so you look through these lenses, and sometimes you might feel like you're touched by God.
Oh, God.
I thought you didn't believe in me.
That's just an expression.
I'm more than that, and I want you to spread the word.
How special is that?
Well, it's
Wasn't that special?
So anyway, let's move on to what the meanings are here. So this is a wide angle because of the 28 millimeter. It's a wide angle lens, and you know, reading around the
Whatchamacallit?
the mounting plate on the front elements here. We have Olympus OM system, Zuiko MC multi-coated auto wide, f2 28 millimeter. Now, you know, from what they describe, you know, for the other letters, which I'll describe through these, is the number of elements in them. But for this one, you know, the f2, there's 9 elements in 8 groups. There are 8 blades inside. Actually, let me take off the back so I can see the daylight through here. So they have 8 blades in this particular lens here, and it's got a great reputation. You know, being an f2, it's fairly fast for its day. You know, this is produced in between 1973 and 1974. Had a close focus distance of 30 centimeters, and you know, again, it had some great reputation. But as usual, I'm going to take a picture of the end of the lens here. So let me take my adapter. Now, of course, everything on mirrorless. That's the beauty of using vintage lenses on mirrorless cameras, is these lovely little adapters here. Very cheap. You get these from China. At least I'm in Vietnam, so China's right next door.
Won't you be my neighbor?
You know, so I get them fairly cheap here. You know, maybe $8 or so for one of these. So anyway, let me load this onto my to my lens. I just touched it with my fingers. Ew! So as usual, I will take a picture of the end of the lens, and I will also accompany in this video some pictures of my my modeling son Dylan. He's actually tomorrow turning 32 weeks, and you know, he loves smiling for the camera. So as usual, I take all my photos wide open, just to show you the effects of wide open, because you can always read all about, you know, stopping down, you know, how crisp and sharp things are. But I like to show wide open because I know a lot of people love that bokeh, you know, the quality of the out of focus background. So you know, again, and since this is a wide angle, I'm not that far from the camera. I'm maybe a meter away. But let me zero in on the very end of, you know, the faceplate, so I get the writing on there, so it's nice and sharp. 1, 2, 3. All right, and of course, as I just said, I'll follow this up with some photos of Dylan to show you what the 28 millimeter looks like with Dylan smiling at you. All right, so with that said, let me take this off the A7R2, put that aside, and I will now move along to the 50 millimeter. So, sorry, let me back that up a second here. All right, so the 50, let me line this up. The 50 millimeter, let me talk a little bit about that. This is actually, this is one of the more sought after Olympus Zuikos, and as you can see too, before I move on, just how small, you know, if I bring the lenses all down to their smallest level here. And of course, this one's got the adapter on it, but yeah, let me take it off just to show you. Look how small these are. Aww. This is the 28. It's comparable actually to the 100 millimeter, very close. So 28, 100. Look at that. It's almost like exactly the same, almost exactly the same height.
I'm so damn confused.
And that's pretty significant when it comes to lenses. So anyway, this one's the 85, and it's it's a little taller than the 28. Actually, it's almost the exact same size as well. Holy moly! What the fuck? These things are all like they've been copied from one camera barrel to the next, just changing the optics inside. But anyway, moving on. I'm kind of getting wowed by my own discoveries here. But this is the 50 millimeter 1.4, very sought after, very beautiful piece of glass. I mean, look at that. They talk about Zuiko, the light of God. This is touching God right here.
I'm God.
Bingo! Yahtzee!
Very beautiful. Now the G, they designate letters in front to identify the number of elements inside. So G represents 7. So the 50 1.4 has 7 elements in 6 groups, has 8 aperture blades. Its closest focus distance is 40 centimeters, and it was produced between 1970 and 1971. And it's 177 grams, so it's hefty but not that heavy. So let me get you a picture of the end of the lens here, the end of my M50 15 to 45 millimeter lens that's filming this at this moment. And again, make sure I'm at f1.4, so I'm wide open. And I shall zoom in on the end of the lens. All right, 15 to 45. 1, 2, 3. And again, I'm about a meter away from my Canon M50. And again, I will include some shots of Dylan right now. Alright, take that off. Switch things out here. So here I have the 85. So this is the 85 millimeter f2. It's another beaut. Again, look at that glass. As clear as can be. Again, the touch of God. It's wonderful. This lens was made famous by a number of photographers out there. A particular female, I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but I'll stick it right up here so we know. But anyway, this is an 85 f2. It is an F Zuiko as opposed to the G, because it has 6 elements in 5 groups, and its closest focus distance is 85 centimeters. So it's it's an 85 millimeter lens, 85 centimeter close focus distance, 6 aperture blades, and it was produced in 1972 and is 260 grams. So let me pop that onto my Sony and get you some photos right here. So this is wide open at f2. Zoom in on the end of my 15 to 45. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, remember these are vintage lenses, so therefore they are manually focused. And a lot of people might be put off by manual focus, but really when you use them, a few days in a row, a few weeks in a row, you become actually pretty good at manual focus. It's not that scary, really. So anyway, that is the to 85 millimeter. And let me move on to my last little prize, a little piece of history, piece of touch of God. And this is my 100 millimeter f2.8. Now there's a more sought after one, which is I think it's a 1.8 or a 1.4, 100 millimeter. But it's much bigger than this one and much more expensive. So this is the 100 2.8, but it's still pretty damn good though. You know, 100 millimeter again for something this big. You know, it's the same size as my 28 and 50.
That's what she said.
So really, it's a super lens. And this one is an E Zuiko because it's designated E Zuiko Auto T OM system, and it's five elements in 5 groups, so a 5 and 5. And its closest focus distance is 90 centimeters, and it was produced in 1971. It's 235 grams. So again, not that heavy. None of these are very substantial because of the size of them. They're very small. But look at that. Look at that glass. It's beautiful. It's the touch of God. I said.
Touch, but don't taste.
Not the touch of God, the light of God, which is like being touched by God. But anyway, getting all religious on us here. All right, so let me get you a shot of the lens and get ourselves another shot of Dylan right after this as well. Well, this is a much closer focus. All right, very sharp. Actually, this one's sharpest of all. All right, let's have a 1, 2, 3. And you'll see by the photo how you know how it renders. Much different than these guys here. So again, that is my Zuiko Zuiko collection of Olympus. You know, they're all great lenses. You know, all of these I can highly recommend for their value. They're not very expensive. I'll post up here what I paid for each, and of course prices fluctuate all the time on eBay and whatnot. So that's it for me. That's all I want to tell you about these Olympus lenses. They're great on mirrorless cameras because of this baby here. You know, a little cheapy adapter, and you can put in pretty much anything on your mirrorless camera. So with that said, all I really want to tell you next is my little plug for Luminar, because I really love their program.
You gotta say what you're feeling.
For editing, because it's economical too. It's yours for life. You buy it, you never have to upgrade. You can just use it forever and ever for one low price. And if you click below, I have a little link there where you can save yourself $10, and actually I get a little kickback from that too. Not getting rich, of course, but it helps. So every little bit helps. Teachers, I'm a teacher, we don't get paid lots of money, so every little bit that I can get out of Luminar is going to help out. But anyway, recommend these lenses get a chance, get out there and buy some. You know, they're much more economical than the autofocus lenses of, especially if you're shooting Sony. You know, the average lens they have is upwards towards $1,000, and then they go up from there even more. So, you know, for $1,000, I could buy a boatload of these things. And have, you know, kind of comparable quality. So, again, that's all I've got to say about Olympus Zuiko lenses. If you want to hear more about these kinds of things, remember to subscribe, and for good measure, subscribe. And because I love the thumbs up girls so much, I actually really enjoy editing my videos so I can add them in there. I'm going to get them in there again. So here comes the thumbs up girls. All right, so remember, this is Modesty Photography. I'm here to share my experiences with you, you know, whether it's photo tips or whether it's, you know, talking about vintage lenses or camera systems. You know, I'm going to, next week, I think I'm going to talk about either my, my EOS M system with Canon, or perhaps I might even do a special on Leica. Because, you know, what I just said about saving you money, obviously you're not saving much money by going into the Leica system. It's very expensive, but if you play your cards right, you can still get in at cheaper than the people who buy things at full price. I like to buy things used. So you can get in at a more economical angle on that.
Cheap bastard.
So that's it from me. That's Modesty Photography. This was Camera Talk with Dr. Scott. And remember, you belong here. So we'll see you next week in another brand new video. So that's all I've got for you. Stay safe, have fun, and have yourself a great weekend and a great week. All right, bye-bye.
Here I am,